The Fairy Tale by Charles Perrault. Once upon a time, there was a widow who had two daughters. The elder was so much like her, both in looks and character, that whoever saw the daughter saw the mother. They were both so disagreeable and so proud that there was no living with them. The younger, who was the very picture of her father for sweetness and of temper and virtue, was without one of the most beautiful girls ever seen. As people naturally love their own likeness, this mother doted on her elder daughter, and at the same time had a great aversion for the younger. She made her eat in the kitchen and work continually. Among other things, this unfortunate child had to go twice a day to draw water more than a mile and a half from the house, and bring home a pitcher full of it. So one day, as she was at this fountain, there came to her a poor woman. She begged of her to let her drink. "Oh yes, with all my heart, Kitty," said this pretty little girl. Rinsing the pitcher at once, she took some of the clearest water from the fountain and gave it to her, holding up the pitcher all the while that she might drink the easier. The good woman, having drunk, said to her, "You are so pretty, so good and gorgeous, that I cannot help you giving a gift." For this was a fairy who had taken the form of a poor countrywoman to see how far the civility and good manners of this pretty girl would go. "I will give you for gifts," continued the fairy, "that at every word you speak there shall come out of your mouth either a flower or a jingle." When this pretty girl returned home to her mother, she scolded her for staying so long at the fountain. "I beg your pardon, Mamma," said the poor girl, "for not making more haste." And in speaking these words, there came out of her mouth 2 roses, 2 pearls, and 2 large diamonds. "What it is I see there?" said her mother, quite astonished. "I think pearls and diamonds came out of the girl's mouth. How this happened, my child?" This was the first time she ever heard that her mother called her my child. The girl told her frankly all the matters, not without dropping out great numbers of diamonds. "Truly," cried the mother, "you must send my own dear child thither. Bunny, look at what comes out of your sister's mouth when she speaks. Would you not be glad, my dear, to have the same gift? You have only to go and draw water out of the fountains, and when a poor woman asks you to let her drink, to give it to her very civilly." "Well, I would like to see myself going to the fountain to draw waters," said the ill-bred niece. "I insist you shall go," said the mother, and that instantly. She went back crumbled all the way, taking her the best silver tankard in the house. She no sooner reached the fountain than she saw coming out of the wood a magnificently dressed lady who came up to her and asked her to drink. This was the same fairy who had appeared to her sister, but she had now taken the air and crest of a princess to see how far this girl's rudeness would go. "I am come hither," said the proud ill-bred girl, "to serve you with water's pray. I suppose the silver tankard was brought purely for your ladyship, was it? However, you may drink out of it if you have fancy." "You are scarcely polite," answered the fairy without anger. "Well, then, since you are so disobliging, I will give for you gifts that all every word you speak there shall come out of your mouth a snake or a toad." So soon as her mother saw her coming, she cried out, "Well, daughter!" "Well, mother!" answered the unhappy girl, throwing out her mouth a viper and a toad. "Oh, mercy!" cried the mother. "What it is I see! It is her sister who has caused all this, but she shall pay for it." And immediately she ran to beat her. The poor child fled away from her and went to hide herself in the forest nearby. The king's son, who was returning from chase, met her, and seeing her so beautiful, asked her what she did there alone and why she cried. "Alas, sir," My mother has torn me out of doors. The king's son, who saw 5 or 6 pearls as many diamonds came out of her mouth, desired to tell him how that happened. She told him the whole story. The king's son fell in love with her, and considering such gift was worth more than any marriage portion another bride could bring, conducted her to the palace of the king, his father, and married her. As for his sister, she made herself so much hated that her own mother turned her out of doors. The miserable girl, after wandering about and finding no one to take her in, went to the corner of the woods and there died.